So welcome back to the Theatre of Dreams, Theatres of Dreams football podcast. It's myself, Rod Maxwell. You got Harry Morell and you got Erin Bo Carroll. Both of those guys are part of the Radio Robins team. We'll be talking about Alti playing tonight. I guess, guys, it was a massive weekend of football, a massive weekend of football gossip and transfers. I'm personally completely knackered. How are yous?
Yeah, happy. I mean, from a City perspective, we had a bit of a busy deadline day, and I don't know whether this was the same with you, Harry. I was glued from Sky Sports from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to sleep on deadline day.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit different with Manchester United. Obviously, the window had an earlier close time or slammed shut at 7 o'clock. I was thinking, I'll get some good rest, get my feet up, watch something on the old Netflix, all that sort of stuff. But Manchester United, being Manchester United, we like to announce players in the wee early hours of the morning. So thankfully, a lot of us were able to see that we've got a new goalkeeper in. We've also offloaded a number of players as well. But it's just interesting to see how they'll gel come the baptism of fire at the Etihad in what, just over a week's time. So I'm pretty happy as things stand currently. I just will be interested to see what this new team, because it feels like a new team, is like come that game at the Etihad.
Aaron, can I just pick you up on this happiness level, okay? Because I hate to be, take you back to the weekend, but did City not suffer back-to-back defeats in the league?
That's correct. They did. We had Spurs the week before and
You
Brighton.
had, and then you had Brighton Hove Albion 2, Man City 1. So, I mean, is this deflection from you, or are you? Because that's not a great start. That's very un-City like. It's very un-Pep like, is it?
I'm not concerned as of yet. I mean, no, it's not very Pep-like at all, but I feel like we've said this now for the last season. People are starting to figure out the way that we play. And teams are getting used to it now. And Brighton, fair play, they did an absolute number on us on Saturday, and they deserve what they got out of that. But the thing that frustrates me is you look at the stats of that game, and City were all over them
All
and
over.
all over Brighton, and it just shows that when you take your chances, you get what's coming to you. I mean, the defending for that second goal was horrific, and I don't know what was going through Nunez's mind to have his hands up here. He might as well have just slapped the ball in the box for Milner's penalty. But no, again, it was very un-City like. And Haaland obviously got his on his 100th appearance, I think it was. He scored 100th goal, something ridiculous. Like he's broken another record.
But you were all over them in terms of possession. I think it was
Yeah.
63 versus 37, or it was 63.7 to 36.3. But on shots, it was 12 shots each, and they had more shots on target than you, so their XG was better. Again, that's quite un-City like.
It is, and I think that's down to the defending. The defending on Saturday was nowhere near good enough. The only sort of centre back that I will pick up from that game who had a very good game was Abdulkadir Kuzanov. He's an absolute powerhouse, that young lad. But as well, I would argue to say James Trafford kept us in that game. If it wasn't for him during that, we'd have been about 4 or 5 down come
Yeah.
the end of that game.
Well, actually, I'm just looking again in defense. Tackles won, 76.5% of tackles won by Brighton, and yous were at 46. So that does seem to back up what you said. Harry, over the weekend for United, it was a bit. It was a bit of a weird atmosphere at Old Trafford on Saturday, I thought, to begin with.
Yeah, it was a strange one. I suppose everybody knew what was going on going into that game. It sort of, as I said on the last podcast, it was sort of like it had the making of being Amram's last game, United against Burnley. It's one of those ones which should go down in infamy as being a manager's last game. But thankfully, we were able to pull a result out. And again, it was seeing sort of two Manchester United teams. Really, we were really dominant against Burnley, and then we just didn't take our chances. If you look at the stats or something like that, we had so many chances, so many shots on target. We couldn't find that final end product, and then we let Burnley get back into the game. They took the lead 3 times, but then with goals being ruled out, etc. And then also Bruno Fernandes with his penalty, and over the last fortnight, penalties haven't quite been Manchester United's saving grace, should we say? But really, it was Amorim's saving grace this time because we were able to get a win. It wasn't the most enthralling game of football. It wasn't exactly the most relaxing watch either. It helps the fact that it was on the 3 p.m. blackout, so I couldn't watch it anyway. But it was no. I think it's 3 points, which is what we needed. It also helps because we're above City in the table, which is, I know we're only 3 games in, but small wins and all that. And also it means it relieves a little bit of pressure onto the manager. And as we know with Manchester United, when the big games come round, it's always a different Manchester United who come out after the first whistle. So we've got the Manchester derby away at the Etihad. And with these new signings we've brought in, which I'm sure we'll go into more detail, I think... maybe this could be the turning point for Manchester United season. I don't want to jinx it too much because we're only 4 games in, but I suppose we've remembered how to win a game. We've remembered how to score now. We just need to remember as Manchester United fans how to be positive again around this football club.
I decided to drive down to the ground on Saturday, and I was listening to the pre-match commentary, and I was also checking out the starting 11. And when I saw the starting 11 with Diego Dalot on the left in front of Shaw, and with Bruno and Casemiro in there, and without Sesko starting, I was like, "What the heck is he doing?" What is going on here? And when I got to the ground, it felt, well, not even the ground, just walking down, it was muted. People were really, really quiet. Now, sometimes they're quiet anyway, but they were quiet, and even, before kickoff. And the atmosphere was a little bit muted, but it warmed up again. And it was a weird game of football. A really weird game of football. And it obviously took the pen to win it, but we did look like we were under control of the game, and the stats suggest that. We had over 60% in possession. We had a lot more shots than they had. But you were thinking, I mean, I was thinking, what's going on with Sesko? Why can't we not start this guy? I just don't. I'm getting really frustrated, actually.
I think the issue was Amorim had said in one of his press conferences, say after the Grimsby game, which he played the full shebang for, he had some quite serious cramp or whatever it was, and he's obviously just trying to manage injuries in the squad, because one of the worst things that happened at the Burnley game was the fact that we've Mateus Cunha's gone out with an injury, which is, as United fans, we can never seem to have anything nice for too long. We've just brought in this brilliant player who seems to be dominating the forward line, and he seems to pick up a niggle. So as Amorim, I think he's got it right with Sesko at the moment. I think he's as we've seen with other number 9s at this football club, if we throw them in at the deep end too soon, they seem to panic and not quite drown, because we've been able to score in cup competitions. But as we are now only currently in 2 competitions, one of which is the league, the other one being the FA Cup, we've man management is going to be crucial for Ruben Amorim, and there's enough pressure with just actually performing in the league. And yes, he's got a bit more flexibility midweek now, because we're not in the Champions League draw, we're not in any big chance of European football, so he can start to build this squad. I think that Burnley win, although we should have really won that in the first half by a country mile, we had to sort of graft through it, and I think we've sort of remembered how to win a game of football, and hopefully with that sort of basically getting it back to basics and remembering how to, because it's the first time a Manchester United player had actually scored in the league this season, and the first time a Manchester United player had achieved an assist this season.
Because the first goal was an OG, wasn't it?
Yeah. Then I think we've had 2 own goals, and the only chance created came from Bayern Deer with his lofted ball forward. But Brian Mbeumo looks brilliant as well. It's just what we're starting to see now is we're starting to see all of these components come together, and we've made some changes on deadline day as well, and hopefully that will sort of bolster this squad, and we'll have because we've got a difficult run of games coming up. There's no lie about that. This win at Burnley has taken some of the pressure away from Amorim. You just sort of, as with league competitions, you're just hoping that you can get some momentum going, and hopefully this is the start. And when we come back after the international break, we can really hit the ground running.
Well, before we talk about the transfer deadline and all the news and the gossip and sackings, by the way, I don't know if you've seen 3 former United managers sacked on the one weekend. I don't know if you saw that, but we'll turn to the Silver Lake Stadium where Ulty were away at Eastleigh. It ended up Eastleigh 2, Ulty 1. Were either of you at this game, or have you seen any highlights from it?
I've seen the highlights for it, and it is not good at all. It's the second goal looks a lot worse back on the replay. I didn't actually see it in real time, obviously, with the 3 p.m. blackout. I think I was at my granddad's house, and he's the one that I go to watch Ulti with all the time. Have been doing since I was a little kid. This will be my 10th year watching him, and the two of us were watching. Is it Final Score on BBC?
Yeah.
And I checked it once about 5 minutes before, and it flashed up on the TV that they'd gone 2-1 up, and I just remember me and him just ranting about it for a solid 10 minutes. Just why can we not seem to win a game? But hopefully, after we haven't had a great start, have we really, Harry? If you look at it, we've not had a considerably good start. But that Solihull game, and hopefully tonight with that game, they'll put Saturday's mistakes behind them in order to rectify them later on.
Yeah, it's one of those things with Ulti. We've obviously still got Phil Parkinson at the wheel, and it's a very much changed squad. It just feels as though they haven't sort of like bedded in together yet.
No.
And if you look at the league table, it's I know we're only a couple games in. There's been more games in the National League than there has been the Premier League. But when you see your side currently in 18th position in the league, just hovering above the dreaded bottom 4, it does sort of it's sort of like an eye-opening thing. Like, don't get me wrong, the players we do have some real
Quality about them.
Quality, some potency as well. It just seems as though I don't know whether it's we run out of ideas, or we're trying to play off the same blueprints for players which we no longer have in our arsenal. I think it's one of those things where we just need to just sort of get some momentum, get some points into the squad, and some optimism as well, because it's another game away from home, and it's a long trip. We're not even talking about the trip down to Truro yet, which is in November. I think if you're an Ulti fan and you're going down for that and you're not bringing 3 points back, like, you're not going to be getting a suntan down on the Cornish coast in December, so you'd want to bring the 3 points. It's very much the start of the season, and we've seen that the club has sort of punched above its weight in the last few seasons, getting into the playoffs, just missing out last year. And as Phil Parkinson said, he's trying to finish in that top half of the table, and he said it's going to be a difficult job. And we're only 6 games in, and we can already see that he knows what he's on about, because it's been difficult to watch.
I'm just reading some comments here from some Grimsby fans, are actually it was actually an Eastleigh fan actually, and he said game of 2 halves, Ulti all over the Spitfires in the first half, but should have been ahead by more than 1 goal. Eastleigh better team in the second half. Not many players get man of the match when on half-time sub. That's Saunders, and as an Eastleigh fan, I think we were a bit lucky to take all 3 points. Ulti deserved a draw, so there you go. Well, Ulti just needs some of these away matches to turn into draws at least, and then to build off that. So the table, they're sitting at 18th place, played 6 and got 6 points, and then in the drop zone at the moment is Woking, Truro, Morecambe and Solihull Moors, and top of the table there, Forest Green Rovers, followed by Rochdale and Southend United. Right, let's turn to what is a chaotic week, and let's talk about transfer deadline week, or as Fabrizio Romano would say, here we go. What did you make of it? Who did well, and are you happy with your team's outcome in transfer deadline week? It was a very expensive deadline day, wasn't it, or overall transfer period?
it certainly looked that way. I mean, on deadline day there was a lot going on, and as I said earlier, I was kind of glued to Sky Sports from 10 o'clock in the morning when I'd woken up till midnight when I'd gone to sleep. But with that, if I can speak from a City perspective, there was a lot going on deadline day, and a bit of that we didn't expect. So Manuel Akanji, for one, that
Yeah.
really came out of the blue. For me especially, I didn't expect that at all. I mean, there was talk of him having been approached by, I think it was Galatasaray earlier in the window, in which case he'd said no, denied all these rumours and said, no, I'm staying at City, don't want to go. And Inter Milan came in on the last day and said, look, we'll take you on loan, blah, 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 get you some playing time. Is fair enough. He's accepted that. They do have an obligation to buy him come the end of the season. I think that's proven he plays. There's two conditions of that. I think it's either they win the league, he has to be bought, or he makes a certain amount of appearances.
But
Again,
sorry, just on Akanji, I thought you hadn't long had him.
no, he's been here quite a bit actually now. I think he
Oh,
was part of the treble winning squad in 23, so he's been here a few years.
okay.
Ilkay Gundogan is another one who is gone to Galatasaray. It seemed as if the Turkish league wanted to raid half our playing squad
On a
on
free.
deadline day on a free. Yeah, unfortunately, as much as I love him and he's a club legend, the right decision was made. Obviously, he left on good terms the first time around to go to Barcelona. It didn't quite work out for him. He came back and was told sort of to accept a bit of a smaller role, but was played much more than he should have, and it was clear he wasn't keeping up with things in the Prem. So unfortunately, as much as I love him, the right decision was made, and he's put a really heartfelt letter out in the Manchester Evening newspaper, which for City fans, I'd go and advise that you read that. It's really nice. It's really good letters spoken from the heart, which you don't see many players do nowadays. It's kind of like all media and PR, isn't it? But it was a really heartfelt message. The right decision was made, and then as well, Edison going out to Fenerbahce, that was understandable. He's looked like going for the last 2 or 3 transfer windows after the treble he wanted to leave. But it was Galatasaray all the way, and obviously the only sort of player we bought in on deadline day was Donnarumma. And overall, if I could grade it, I'd say we've had a transfer window worth at least a B.
Are you happy with Donnarumma coming in?
I think I said this a few weeks ago. I wasn't keen on him coming.
I think I remember you saying
The only reason being is he's a brilliant shot stopper and arguably the best goalkeeper in the world right now. Champions League winner, Euro winner with Italy. But the problem is Pep's system requires a goalkeeper that's able to play out with his feet. He cannot do that. He's got one of the highest save percentages. I think it's like 84% save rate across Europe last season. He cannot play with his feet, and I think that's what's going to cost us. And Trafford coming in to be number one, how's that going to work between the two?
It's a problem, but we'll come on to United have their own problems in that department. Can I just turn away from City for a minute, because somebody who splashed the cash at a position of strength was Liverpool. I think Liverpool spent, what, 200 million or more?
More than that.
500 million.
Or was it really as much as
half
that?
a billion.
Yeah,
Half
just
a
another
billion.
just another 300 mil just snuck in
Just
there
on
on
top
the
of that.
on the statistics. But well, I think what they're trying to show is that it's clearly their league title to lose, really, because they're obviously reigning champions. They've the Alexander Isak sort of saga's finally come to a conclusion, with him heading off to Merseyside, and obviously they broke the British transfer record not once but twice in this window alone. So having the likes of they've brought in Alexander Isak for 25 million, Fabian Wirtz from Leverkusen for just over 100 million, and then they've got Ekatike who came in as well for just shy of 70 million. And they've got Jeremy Frimpong as well, who have come in from Bayern Leverkusen as well. That's a really strong squad, and not just in one position, but across the board. And there's going to be competition in that squad as well. It helps the fact when you've got when they haven't spent for so many years, and you've got so much money to spend because of new stands and new contract deals. It's something for all clubs to aspire to and be very envious of. But as a Manchester United fan, I'm quite happy with how our window went, to be honest. Not only because we brought in some players in areas that we'd been shouting about needing to change, but also we crucially got rid of that elusive bomb squad with pretty much everybody going out the door. So it's we may not have brought in a midfielder, but I tell you what, I think I'm somewhat satisfied, and I think I would have just been satisfied seeing the bomb squad disappear. But bringing a goalkeeper too, come on, it must nearly be Christmas. I know we're the 3rd of September, but it's I can hear them.
Well, we talk about ranking your transfer window. I mean, I have to say, up until Monday, I was feeling a little bit sick. Probably the best word. That bomb squad was hanging over us.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know which goalkeeper was going to come in, and it just felt like there was a real depression with that bomb squad. And I got to say, hats off to our recruitment, our football directorship team, because they shifted them. And I hope it isn't just a case of it's sort of pushing it down the road, but I think it sent the message to a lot of people to say we will follow through in what we're saying here.
Oh, definitely. It's I know we Manchester United, we've got sort of a lot of money to spend because we can put so many fans into a stadium. But one thing we're very good at doing is overspending, and that's one thing we've certainly done with the majority of that so-called bomb squad. But I think a lot of Manchester United fans will be happy the fact that we got something back from those players. There was talks about extending Jadon Sancho's contract for another year, so he doesn't go away in a free. But the fact we've had so many players leave, we've had a number leave permanently, including the likes of Anthony. It looks like Højlund's played his last game for Manchester United as well, because Napoli have loaned him out, and there's an obligation to buy there as well if they qualify for the Champions League. And that's pretty much the Manchester City B team at the moment. So I think they'll be doing quite well in the European stages. But then you talk, a lot of fans have been saying, "Oh, it's bad business. We've only got 20 million for this, 20 million for that." But if you look at the Anthony deal to Real Betis, he seemed to be the player that we thought he was when we brought him in, playing out in the Spanish league. And we've got a 50% buy-on clause, which is when we get 50% of the profit from however much Anthony goes for next. So even though we've offloaded them off the books now, we're still going to see some money drip fed into the club. So I think that's really good business. And I think it's, as you were saying, Rod, it's a clear message and it's a clear direction of where the Manchester United seems to be going, because we've really had no direction of football. We haven't had a director of football for the last 4 odd years, but now we seem to be going in, quote unquote, the right direction anyway, at least.
I think we start off with a good window signing those forwards that we signed, and actually it signaled a slightly different approach in terms of going for something that fits the system. And then there was a bit of lull, and this whole whatever the group, what did they call them, the bomb squad, that seemed to be the dominant theme. But I think for me, the big question is, if you had Emi Martinez versus Sani Lamens, right? We've obviously gone for youth. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really, really big call, because I mean, he's no doubt a very good keeper, and he has a lot of the right attributes. Is he going to go straight in at number one and push out, the 2 current goalkeepers? I think it's a huge call. I think it's a call for the future. But we actually need somebody who's going to marshal the back 4, back 3 now. And I think that was a really, really big call. The money it wasn't about money in my mind. It was about getting the right person in. I hope they got that call right, but I can see why they did it,
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt about it that the goalkeeper we brought in is a serious shot stopper. If you just look at the stats alone, his save percentage and his passing accuracy is greater than that of Andre Onana's. But the issue is we've sort of gambled on this youth, and he's only played 1 season for Royal Antwerp, and yes, he's excelled. But one thing we found is that the goalkeeper is, you either love it or you hate it. And 9 times out of 10 for Manchester United fans, you hate the goalkeeper and they receive an awful lot of stick. Emi Martinez, who was the other goalkeeper we were linked with pretty much until 6:59 on when the window is shut. You can just see yes, he's a World Cup winning goalkeeper and he's played in European football as well. He's very, very confident. And crucially, he's very cocky as well, which I feel as though is one thing that a Manchester United goalkeeper in the modern age sort of needs to be, because they will receive an awful lot of slate and all the rest of it. And I feel like Emi Martinez would have given a bit back, and the United fans would have enjoyed to see that. I think San Lamons I think he's a very, very good signing in the fact that he is a very competent goalkeeper. It's like what you were saying, who's going to be the number one? If we throw him in at the Etihad, that could really be a baptism of fire, especially if you just look at the City's attacking threats going forward. If stats are anything to go by, and if go by gospel, he looks like he's going to be a seriously quality goalkeeper. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if he's there to sort of challenge Andre Onana or Bayern Dier, because I sort of feel like we won't see him come the Manchester derby in a fortnight's time, because I feel like Ruben Amorim really needs to sort of get his man management right and make sure that he's protecting players not only from injury, but also crucially from unwanted pressure or attention, which seems to be anyone wearing the number one shirt for Manchester United seems to be getting at the moment.
Can I just add something on your goalkeeper really quick?
Yeah.
So obviously you were linked to Emi Martinez pretty much up until the window's shut. I don't know whether you guys have actually read or heard of this, but there's two things I want to say on him. A, he might be the only goalkeeper or any player I've ever seen in the Premier League to wave goodbye and say goodbye to his supporters at the final home game to then not go anywhere.
Ooh.
And he apparently was waiting all day for a phone call off Manchester United on deadline day, which never came. So would you say that's like a massive thing that you've gone?
I think this may have been a tactic, a negotiating tactic, and I think that that they kept him as a B option, not only to cover themselves in case the keeper that got in didn't come up, but also to basically play hardball with is it Royal Antwerp that they keep them to play hardball for them to say, look, we have another option here. So if we'll walk away from the deal because we've got another option on the table, which is something United have been terrible at in the past. Now it's not great for, in this case, Martinez, because he's lost out. But for United, I actually think it was a negotiating tactic, and for once, rather than going big and going for one player and then having to pay over the odds because the selling club knew that he was the only option in town for them, that I think they played it a little bit more cleverly. It's just my view.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think another thing it's got to go down with as well is United would have been like over, because it's been such a point of contention, the goalkeeper position. They would have been like overthinking it, just double checking everything, because at the end of the day, it goes down to experience or you go through youth. And I think they've made the right decision. But as you were saying before, Erin, he sort of said his goodbyes. Don't forget the Turkish transfer market is still open for a while, and it seems as though that the Turkish league is snapping up an awful lot of Premier League players, and you could sort of tell at the end of last season that Emi Martinez had sort of grown out of favour at Villa Park, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw him on the move. And I just sort of want to say on the sort of the last minute decision to go for San Lamon is it sort of spiced up the transfer deadline day, because as we know with Fabrizio Romano, whenever he posts anything on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, it's here we go, we know what's going to happen. Yet this transfer deadline day kept us on our toes, and it kept an awful lot of clubs on their toes. Look at the Mark Gahey scenario, the fact that he was here we go, then he was basically, his bags were packed. He couldn't even look towards his own fans at Selhurst Park when the last time they played. But yet that deal fell through with a bit of managerial bargaining power, saying that he was going to walk. And then also we've had the fact that we've had Martinez linked with United. That was here we go. That never happened as well. It's sort of not quite transfer deadline day of old when you'd have when everybody would stand outside Old Trafford or the equivalent, waiting to see who's smuggled out of a transit van. But no, it's quite good to sort of keep us on our toes, and I just think the only people who won't be too happy is the fact that Liverpool have been caught red-faced, and they've got a problem. Well, they haven't really got a problem at the back because they've got a quality defence anyway, but they've sort of been caught out slightly there.
Well, Liverpool got their man, and that Isak move pushed the total up to 3.87 billion, 3.087 billion, so over just 3 billion spent in this window alone. And last year it was 1.96, so it's not quite double, but it nearly is. And it was more in the UK, in the EPL, it was more than spent by the Bundesliga, La Liga, League One, and Serie A clubs combined. That's huge. That is huge.
Can I add one thing on that? With Liverpool taking up the majority of that, and I don't know whether you guys agree with me on this, I do not want to hear anything off rival fans again claiming that City, United, or anybody like that are just throwing cash about. I do not want to hear that sentence ever again. I'm not taking that.
Well, so in terms of there's a table on footballtransfers.com which the BBC have also published, and it has the spending in the window, and Liverpool spent 415 million quid in this transfer window. Now, they brought in 187 million in transfers, so that's a net spend of 228 million. Now, Arsenal spent net more than that, but they spent 255 million and they got 9 million back. Interestingly, Chelsea made money because they spent 285 million, but they got 288 million in. Newcastle were fourth with spending $250 million, bringing in 152 million. United probably had their best income year for a long time. We spent 216 million and brought 68 million in. What's interesting in this table, though, is Notts Forest and Sunderland are in the top half of the spending table, and in fact both those teams are spent more than City did combined. Yeah. City spent 152 million in the window, brought in 53 million, so net 99 million. And so it's just interesting. I think we talked about this last week. Forest and Sunderland have gone big early, and I think that it'll be interesting to see where that tactic comes off. I don't think Villa fans will be particularly happy overall. They actually spent net 10 million because they spent 57.5 million and brought in 47. But I think the thing about it is these numbers, especially Liverpool, I think, it's a huge number. It's just a huge number.
There's another thing on transfers I kind of want to touch on a bit with Liverpool. So obviously they bought in Isak for 130 odd million, but for me that transfer wasn't about the price paid, it was the behaviour of the player. So the thing that I just want to touch on this in the transfer market and spending. Newcastle bought in, is it Wissa from Brentford?
Yes.
This is the thing with Liverpool, they were also going to potentially spend more, up to 40 million on Mark Gahey on deadline day. And that fell through just after 8 o'clock. What I want to just ask you, Rod, is what do you think of this? It seems that the two players that really let themselves down club-wise in the transfer window really made a show of themselves, misbehaving, and pretty much, as the saying goes, throwing the toys out the pram, got what they want, compared to the player that behaved himself and conducted himself in the right way. His move ultimately falls through. What are your thoughts on that and sort of player power and spending around that?
I think the whole player power, club versus player control is slightly in the balance at the moment. And I say that because um, maybe I'm just so delighted that our bomb squad have gone, but actually we'll feel the financial impact of that. But I'm quite pleased that United went through with that strategy and said, we want rid of you. You're going to have to go somewhere. Now, it's cost them money. But then you see the situation like an Isaac, and he held, they had no choice. There was, that deal was always going to go through. It was always going to be about the amount of money. And Newcastle were clever enough. I think Newcastle managed to get somebody in, didn't they? So they've managed to cover that situation. I think it just leaves at the moment. It leaves the club versus the player thing in the balance. And for years people said the clubs had too much power, players got turfed out, and to some degree that's still the case at lower levels. You got young people who commit their career, their young career, to a football club, and then they get ditched out. They never get that first team start and all of that type of thing. But I think it was a bit of a tug of war this time. And I think some clubs will come away and thinking, yes, we wrestled control, we controlled that market. I think some agents will turn around and say, actually, no, we still controlled the market. But I think it was different this time. It felt different. It just, to me anyway.
I think with the Gay signing, though, I think it always helps the fact that they've just won their only two piece of silverware ever. So if your manager's threatening to walk, then it really is, right, we need to actually listen to him here because he's recently delivered on that. I think if it was Ruben Amorim saying, I'm going to walk away here if we let Bruno Fernandes go, they'll be thinking, right, okay, we'll just bring somebody else in. I think in that situation, I think the managerial power outlaid the club's power and also the players' power in that point. But it's I think it would be it'd be interesting to see how Liverpool fare without him in the squad, and also be crucial to see how Crystal Palace fare, because it's also their first year in European football, and the fact that he stayed, I think he'll go. I think he'll cement himself as a club legend at Selhurst Park, regardless. But with just got to say as well with Manchester United once more with that bomb squad, the fact that we've been able to completely gut that thing and chalk off so many wages, I think that sort of it's sort of, we can sort of see that sort of like not power but also attitude and determination, and the fact that was at the start of this window when we were thinking, we're not going to be able to offload these players because Garnacho was saying, I'm just going to sit on the bench for 12 months. That was where the concern was going, that the power was only now in the players and also in the agents. I think it also helps the fact that the Serie A and the Bundesliga and other leagues, they're trying to reach a new audience, especially in the UK. So if you've got a lot of players which have made their name in the Premier League, seeing them over abroad, it might encourage more people to watch the Bundesliga and the Serie A. Hence why you can now, people like Mark Goldbridge can show the Bundesliga games for free on their YouTube channel. So I don't know. It's been an interesting window, to say the least. Anyway,
it has. There's a story that I saw that I was just interested to get your view on this, where apparently United went in for ex-player Danny Welbeck of Brighton.
Yeah, I saw that. It's, I'm sort of glad we didn't. I know we've gambled on youth, but Danny Welbeck, I think, is he something like 35 years old or even older than that? So I know you've got experience at the same time, but I feel like Benjamin Sesko, he's going to take. It might take him a while to hit the ground running, but when it just seems with that front line, once they get going, they will be so prolific. They will be. Let's just say our goal difference will be a lot more of a positive read than it was last season. So I'm sort of glad that we didn't bring him in. He's doing very well on the South Coast. I'm not quite sure how he would fare up north.
I tell you what I make of this, because apparently we're also in for Delap before he joined Chelsea.
Yeah.
That there's a report in the MEN that we actually ended up overpaying for Sesko because we panicked, and that Sesko was our fourth choice player. No, I cannot believe that personally, but the reason why the Danny thing is interesting is two things. Is we in the past we have like that sort of senior player, Ibrahimovic type player, Cavani type player. I'm not saying that they've been brilliant, but I wonder whether that's what was going on. But I also think it's quite interesting that it was Jim getting involved, as the owner. And I wonder who would be the person to turn around and say, no, Jim, actually, we're not going to do that, because it takes a wee bit of bravery to tell your owner, no, you're wrong. And apparently, also, we were in for Conor Gallagher.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought I think I would have been quite happy with Conor Gallagher coming in that in the midfield, because I think I'd probably rate our transfer window as about 7.5, 8 out of 10. It would have been great had we brought in that midfielder. I think the plan is we're looking sort of at the next window to bring someone in January perhaps, because as the club said, we can't do everything all at once. But just returning back to the Sesko deal and being the fourth choice striker, I think Manchester United would be very happy the fact they didn't pick up Liam Delap, because he's currently out injured at the moment. So he pulled up at the final game of before the international break, and the interesting thing about that was Nicholas Jackson is flown out to Bayern Munich to complete his loan deal there. Then the club were going to pull out of that because they needed a striker. So he was basically sat around on the tarmac at Munich airport or whatever. It's finally gone through for him, and Nicholas Jackson's got the move he wanted. But as a Manchester United board who are trying not to spend some money, if you've then gone in for Liam Delap and he's pulled up injured, I think that would have been an awful lot of complications, something that Manchester United desperately don't need. So I think we've dodged a bullet there, perhaps.
And I was interested to see that Jamie Vardy got his passport out and moved to Serie A club Cremonese. First time I think he's played abroad at 38 years of age. I mean, again, that's a great move for him, isn't it?
Yeah, belting.
It is. He deserves that.
He does deserve it. I tell you what, he's gonna be climbing up the goal scoring rankings over there. I'm sure he's. To be honest, I said it before. Probably would have had him at United as a secondary striker, come on in the 70th minute, banging a last minute winner. Could maybe do with that at the moment, especially with Cunha out injured. But hey ho, I don't think we've quite got the sponsorship deal with Red Bull yet. And looking at how much Red Bull Jamie Vardy drinks, I think our sponsorship deals would be in jeopardy. That's for sure.
Can I take you back to the weekend games? And I think it was the Live on Sky, the 4:30, because we should talk about Liverpool versus Arsenal, right? I don't know if you saw that game, and I certainly can't pronounce the goal scorer. Sabolisi. Is it Saboslai?
Yeah, Dominic Szoboszlai.
All right. Well, what a cracking free kick, hey?
Do you know what it reminded me of? And I was watching this game with my dad and my mum, and I said to my dad, I'm sure I remember a free kick very similar, and you guys probably will remember. Marcus Rashford against Chelsea. He just whacked it from miles out, and the ball just seemed to stay in the air for so long and nestle in the top left. But I don't think I've ever seen a free kick that's already contender for goal of the season.
It really is. And what would have been 60 yards out or 40 yards out? And what was the yardage? It was well outside the box.
It's about 40 yards out, but they often say, don't they, that when it's straight on, it's harder to judge where. It's harder to pick where you want to go. So if you're coming from the left, you want to hit it sort of top right, don't you? If you hit it from the right, you want to hit it top left. But the middle, you've kind of got either one to aim for, and he struck it perfectly.
The saying is 30 yards, so I obviously got my maths completely wrong. But it was just sweet strike. Top keeper's right-hand corner. I mean, just the keeper had no chance at all,
You were saying it's a contender for goal of the season. We haven't seen Benjamin Sesko's first goal for Manchester United yet, so Let's not count all the trickies just yet, because I
But
tell you what.
other than that Wonder Strike, it was a bit of a dour game.
It
It,
was.
the
It wasn't a
XG
good
for
game.
both were around 0.45, 0.55. There weren't many shots. It was a really cagey game.
It wasn't a good game at all. It was poor from both sides. I mean, do you know what? Lo and behold, it was kind of nice to see Arsenal get a taste of their own medicine with set pieces, because I'm fed up to the back teeth. It's just set piece after set piece after set piece, isn't it, with them? And it's kind of nice to see them have a bit of a taste of their own medicine, and the Arsenal fans didn't seem too pleased about that.
I think the thing that I'm sort of getting sick to death of already is every time there's a free kick, they pan to the free kick specialist coach on the bench. I mean, he's
Mm,
acting like, oh yeah, we've orchestrated all this. It's like, you haven't really. If Szoboszlai's done a wildy of a free kick, that's the player's individual skill who's done that. Let's just say I think they'll have a camera angle fixed on the bench every time that Declan Rice steps up for a free kick in European football this year. That's for sure.
Now, can I just back on the weekend a minute? Because there's something I've got to get off my chest here. And it's something that has bugged me. But why will Pep not shake the hand of an opposition manager in some games when he loses? He didn't shake the hand of
did he
who were you
not?
playing the weekend? No, I'm pretty certain
Brighton.
he did not. If I got that wrong, I apologize profusely. But from what I saw on Match of the Day on the weekend, I don't think he did. It was the Brighton Hove Albion manager, yeah. And it might be logistics and he got in the way or whatever. But if I was in City, I would be saying to him, I know it was back to back defeats and all that, but I would be saying you have to make sure that whatever happens after the next game, you go over, because you do not want to get the reputation of being a bad sportsman. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I don't know. I'm sure that's. It's not like him not to do that. He normally just goes over and he's very friendly with them. But
Well, I'll tell you what,
if that's true,
We'll
that's a
check
little
that.
bit disappointing.
I
Erin,
just
you check it out as
Yeah.
more, but from what I could see, and I only bring it up because I think you set a tone, and I know he's a very emotional guy, back to back defeats and all of that, but it just didn't look. From the TV anyway, it didn't look good. I gotta say.
do you know what it might
No.
be, Rod? I think he just wasn't looking forward to spending £9.90 to go on the M6 toll, because that would have been 116 charges against Manchester City. He's got too much in his plate at the moment.
Anyway,
Unbelievable.
anyway, anybody got anything else that we haven't covered so far?
Yeah, I
Just
just
got.
want. Well, I was going to say we've talked about a lot of outgoings at Manchester United, but I think the thing that really struck me was spoken to a lot of fans after the Grimsby defeat, and so many people were going, hammer him out, hammer him out, hammer him out. Bring Solskjaer back, and that's the only time I felt like I love Manchester United. Bring Jose back, the only time we actually performed well and won a European trophy, or bring back. Well, I don't think anybody really said bring back Ten Hag, but those three managers have all been sacked in the space of 3 days. So if there's ever any doubts of a Manchester United curse, I think they might still might be reeling in that.
Yeah.
So this is incredible. All three of them over the same weekend. Eric Ten Hag, after a win, a draw, and a defeat, 3 games,
Yeah,
two of them in the league, into his Borussia. It's Borussia Bayer. It's Leverkusen, isn't it?
Bayer
Bayern
Leverkusen. Yeah.
Leverkusen. Yeah, I think with that one, it was a surprise he got that gig.
Yes.
But I think the main reason why I did get the sack is, well, half of their players have gone to Liverpool this season, which doesn't really
Yeah.
help, and they haven't really um, reinvested. So whilst you can, I suppose, offload your manager. But do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the likes of Jose Mourinho donning the clarets and blue of West Ham United. He's said he's keen to get
Ooh.
back into the Premier League, and that's the sort of team that he'd love to, because Graham Potter is still under a lot of pressure. They may have got a really good result at the weekend, but they've already conceded something like They're already in double figures worth of conceded goals this season already, and we're only in game week 4. But yeah, I think it's. I always find it really ironic when somebody says, "Oh, bring back a former manager," because that was the last time we felt like we enjoyed a game of football. I don't think many people are calling for Louis van Gaal to come back to Manchester United. But no, I think it's. I just think the timing of it all, the fact that they all went in the space of
One
3
weekend.
days, it was beggars belief. I'm sure somebody put the money when Ollie got the sack. I'm sure a bookie somewhere was saying, "Oh, the other 2 managers will get the sack." Whoever that is, are probably enjoying a lovely holiday on the Mediterranean coast right now.
But do you know, Harry, I would love to be Mourinho's accountant and look at how much money he has made from the clubs that have sacked him, because I've got written down here it was a £90 million payoff.
It's well, he is the special one, and he's got his.
He is a special. He's a special redundant one.
Yeah,
You
I just wouldn't want to fill in his tax return at the end of each year because he's in so many different leagues, so many different countries. I can imagine it's quite hard to keep track of.
But coming back then to Leverkusen, and Eric Ten Hag, I actually felt sorry for Ten Hag, right?
I do.
Because I think this is internal politics within that club. You get the impression that he had the support, but not the majority support, and this was the opportunity. Maybe there's some politics going on within the boardroom of Leverkusen. But Leverkusen CEO, for a guy called Fernando Caro, said it was a painful but necessary one. Now maybe the fact that they've called it early will be good for them. But my God, it's unprecedented. It's the fastest ever sacking in the German league ever, which is not.
It's got a feeling a bit of when Brian Clough was sacked from Leeds United. So I don't know if Eric Ten Hag will have a biopic made about him just yet. But no, I think I feel sorry for the manager. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's just the jobs that he's selected have been the most difficult ones, and obviously you want to make a statement. It just hasn't been making the right statements so far. I think the club will be pleased the fact that they'll be disappointed the fact that they're having to pay off the manager again. I'm sure Eric Ten Hag's wife is very happy because they've got the severance pay, and it also means he can go jetting off wherever exotic on their holiday. But no, I do feel really sorry for the manager because he obviously he's not the sort of manager who's got sacked from Manchester United will go and get another job immediately. He's sat on the sidelines. He's obviously thought about this, thought he'd get the backing from the club. Clearly hasn't received it, and then he's received his P45 in the post a couple of weeks later.
I wouldn't want to be in his family in terms of just how many places you live in, as you say, and I would love to be his house removal service.
Yeah, I think he's got them on speed dial at the moment, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, that was madness. You guys got any other things that tweaked your interest from football news before we look ahead?
Yeah, I've just got 2 quick things. It's the following on from transfers. It's the women's football transfer window deadline day tomorrow, and this has really baffled my brain as blue, and I don't agree with it whatsoever. So reports emerged last week that City were interested in Manchester United midfielder Grace Clinton. It's now emerged this afternoon that Manchester City have agreed a swap deal for Grace Clinton with Jess Park. So that's €1 winner from another Euro winner. And the thing that baffles me is Jess Park was our best player a couple of seasons back, one of the best young talents who's only just coming into the peak of her career. She's come through City's academy, was brought into the club by recommendation by legend Steph Houghton. And this is the thing that gets me, is that she talks about the derby and being a blue through and through. For United fans, she's going to be a brilliant signing for you, but this is where it gets awkward. Believe it or not, on her arm, she has her City debut tattooed down her arm that everyone can see.
I don't know if you've just seen this, but Emma Saunders from the BBC Sports page has just posted that Grace Clinton, the United and England midfielder, is moving the other way.
Yeah, she's going to come to us in a swap deal, it would appear, and I'm not against that. I wasn't against it last week when the rumours came out, but I'm not happy at it with this cost of we're losing Jess, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But following on from that, the WSL starts on Friday night. City versus
Yeah.
Chelsea's the opener.
I will say with that tattoo thing, I'm hoping that the social media admin's gonna have a field day and they'll get the Sharpie out and
Don't,
scribble it
no.
out and put the new date on. Well, it's I think for an open game of the season on Friday, Chelsea versus Manchester City, I think that's a blockbuster of a game to open it. The juggernaut, which is Chelsea, against the
It is.
up and coming Manchester City, and I think after that Euros performance, I think there's going to be an awful lot more of deserved attention put towards the Women's Super League. And also today as well, there's the news, the fact that the minimum salaries have broken through as well. So you can see this positivity and new attention coming towards the women's game, which I'm thoroughly looking forward to. And hopefully Manchester United women can improve on their form, and with the Champions League qualification as well.
Exactly.
It's if one Manchester United are in Europe, then I'll be happy. So let's see how far we can get in that.
You'll take that all day
We'll
long.
take it all day long.
Well, that's it's interesting. The two swapping sides. It's it'll be interesting to see who comes out the better. Anything else before we wrap up for the day? Goodness, there's been so much.
I'm happy. Yeah, I think that's it.
So this weekend's football, it's all about internationals. It's am I right to say it is World Cup qualifiers?
It is indeed. It's Tuchel's put his squad out, and it's no surprise there. There's no Manchester United players in there as of yet. So I'm sure we'll be dominating that England squad when it actually comes to crunch time in the when the World Cup comes round. But yeah, it's all home nations are in action across from Thursday till Sunday. We've got Wales are playing Kazakhstan. And then we've also got on the Friday, we've got Scotland.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you there, Harry? Don't forget the mighty Northern Ireland.
Of course.
Playing in Luxembourg at 7:45 on Thursday night. Don't you forget about that.
Huge game that I was building up. I was going to be my final crescendo for you, in all honesty.
Of course it was.
I think it trumps England versus Andorra. I think England Andorra comes a close second.
When is that mighty match?
That is at 5:00. So there you go. You can have a double header if you want. England versus Andorra at 5:00. Change over to BBC Two, and you can catch catch the Northern Ireland game.
And don't forget the Scots are in Denmark.
That's the one. And also you've got the big game as well on Sunday: Germany versus Northern Ireland. I think that would be a good watch as well. I suppose it's I don't normally like international football breaks, but when you actually start getting towards England qualifying or home nations qualifying for World Cups, that's when a lot more attention comes towards it. And I'm hoping next time we have an international break, we'll see Jack Grealish back in his England shirt, because he seems to be assist extraordinaire at the moment over on the blue side of Merseyside. So it's a shock to not see him in the squad, but we won't be out of that England shirt for too much longer.
And if you don't, you're not a big fan of international football, you can always watch Ulty versus Sutton United on Saturday down at the J Davison at 12:30. Lovely little lunchtime kickoff. And if you can't get there, you can catch it live with Radio Robbins on Radio Ulty from about 12:15 normally. Are you two commentating on that at all?
Don't know as of yet. I think I'm on the stadium announcements for that on Saturday, having just travelled back from Chelsea the night before.
Oh, there you go. There's also English FA Trophy action, and as we were saying, the Women's Super League kicks off on Friday night. It's a big game, Chelsea versus City, 7:30, and then on Saturday night with the Super League, it is Arsenal versus London City Lionesses.
London Derby.
London Derby. And then on Sunday, it is there's four fixtures. The pick the ties. United versus Leicester City. They're all 12 o'clocks actually. Brighton Hove Albion Villa, Liverpool Everton. A derby, Merseyside derby there. And Tottenham versus West Ham. A Cockney derby as well. And look, I'll be glad. I'm not a big fan of international football I've got to admit, I'll be glad when we get back to it. But next week we'll take a look at those international friendlies, our international games, and we'll look at the women's game, and we'll look forward to normal football resuming in the Premier League. There's a big day on Saturday, the 13th of September. There's a huge amount of games on Saturday, so we'll look forward to that as well. Look, you two, lovely to see you. Lots going on. You've been listening to Harry Morrell, Erin Carroll, Rod Maxwell on the Theatres of Dreams podcast. We'll catch you again next week. Cheers, guys.